Hey everybody, I saw an email about Descript's new Edit for Clarity feature, and I thought I'd put it to the test. I make no secrets that I haven't been a fan of Descript's text-based editing, or anybody's text-based editing. I can see its uses, especially for narrative-style content, but I feel the amount of work that it takes to fix all the bad edits more than offsets the time it saves. In other words, it takes me longer to fix the mistakes than it does to edit manually. What I want to see is how well Descript's AI makes decisions, not only about where it makes the cuts, but also what it decides to cut. Will it approach this like a podcast editor, or will it approach this like a writing professor? This is what Descript's website has to say about AI Edit for Clarity. Descript's AI for Clarity instantly, precisely finds and cuts filler words and non-essential chatter. Sometimes it takes a lot of talking to get the best ideas out there. So the first step in editing any interview show or unscripted podcast or video is cutting all the stuff you obviously don't want. Ums and uhs, long tangents, meandering blather, other scruff and fluff. And while editing that stuff out is fairly mindless, it's also tedious and time-consuming, or it used to be, because now you can remove all of that in a click, then get down to making your best ideas, core messages, and most compelling moments come through crisp and clear. I'm all for finding more efficient workflows, so let's see how well this new AI Edit for Clarity works, and if the AI editor is any smarter than it has been in the past. And by smarter, I mean it doesn't cut into breaths or throw the pacing off. So here we are in Descript. I do need to point out that I am a Descript affiliate, and they are offering a bonus for creating this video. I don't know if I'll get the bonus because it's limited to so many people, but they have no input into the video, they have no say over it. All of these views are mine and my genuine take on Edit for Clarity. Let's see how this works. So we go into Actions, Ask AI, and Edit for Clarity. It provides the prompt. Edit this down to remove any speech disfluencies, repeated sections, and tangents that distract from the core ideas. So we hit enter, the AI is thinking. So now it's done with its thinking. We can scroll through here. Okay, so here's a place where removed or is suggesting that we remove, and spam a lot. Here we've got a so here, and here we've got a sentence or part of a sentence that's being removed. So let's go ahead and apply these edits to the script. And now we can see that all of these changes have been made. And I forgot to check, but I think this interview originally started out at about 54 minutes, and we're down to 49 and a half. Let's check out the edits the AI suggests.
At one point, you were doing PR by day and performing at night. You're currently the Director of Marketing and Public Relations.
I can tell by looking at the transcript that, and spam a lot, that's actually the name of a show. So we would want to leave that in.
At one point, you were doing PR by day and performing in Spam-A-Lot at night.
So that's actually performing in Spam-A-Lot at night. Let's see how good the so is cut out.
Just a cool thing to mention. Some people believe we should focus.
It's still, I think it would sound more natural if we left that so in.
Cool thing to mention. So some people believe we should focus.
I think in that case, it really doesn't matter. Let's move on. So we've got some ums here, a repeat of I've, and we're cutting out right here. So let's see how this sounds.
The Frank Sinatras of the world and Tony Bennett, Johnny Mathis, people like that. But as I went through school and right after I got out of school and came out here with Wayne Newton, I realized that, first of all, I have a lot of interests, obviously. You know, I've always been a writer and I've always been interested in voice acting. So those were two natural progressions from that. But I also realized fairly early on that in order to have a decent amount of income as a musician.
Okay, that last edit was really bad. Some of these were fine. Some of them, to me, they feel like they're kind of coming in or out abruptly.
You know, I've always been a writer and I've always been interested.
And this is one of the problems when we're making edits on stuff that has a lot of reverb on it. It's more obvious when you cut between words, because the reverb is either there when it shouldn't be, or it gets cut off when at the end of a word. So these are some of the telltale signs that really kind of give AI away. Let's see how it cleans this up.
Work, even when I've employed full time.
And again, it seems like this was a bad cut because it shows that it should say even when I was employed full time, but it feels like the was is cut off.
Other work, even when I've employed full time.
So if I was editing this myself, I'd make sure that the was is complete. Okay, here we've got a sentence that's cut out. And I think that's important to keep evolving as we grow, especially if we're going to work for yourself. So I'm assuming that's kind of a tangent or something that the AI feels doesn't add value. So let's hear how it sounds skipping that sentence.
What I like to do and what I don't like to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It works. It feels like the do wasn't the last word of the sentence.
I don't like to do.
Yeah.
But for most people, they're not going to pick up on that. So here we've got a few more strikeouts of single words. Let's take a listen.
Of irons in the fire is the same way. The other irons are taking over and help us get through a situation like this, which is, you know, I'm really grateful that there are other things that I can do besides playing music. So when this happened, I had got.
So those are sounding fine.
Cultivate some more work in these other areas.
And what I'm seeing is the AI is approaching this transcript like I've seen other people approach text-based editing. They're coming at it from an editor standpoint. They're coming from it from almost a journalistic standpoint and wanting to take out things like some of, because technically removing that is the grammatically correct thing to do. But with the way that humans speak, no one cares if we have cultivate some more work in some of these other areas. When we hear somebody say that, we don't blink an eye. But by removing it, it's a bad edit and sounds clunky.
Cultivate some more work in these other areas. Cultivate some more work in some of these other areas to make.
So this is one of the areas where I do see AI really struggling, and even humans struggle, is trying to approach the transcript like it's a piece of writing. We have to accept the imperfections of human speech if we want everything to sound natural and flowing and unedited. Let's check this one out.
It is busy. I work at the School of Music.
So that's another rough edit. Let's check out the removal of performance, or the first performance.
We're training musicians, and the performances there are effective.
This is one of the other telltale signs I hear with Descript and other text-based editors is the pacing. The AI is not smart enough to understand pacing. So what I'm hearing is performances sounds a little bit rushed, and this tells me that performance and performances weren't spoken the same way. So the second one comes out a little more rushed, whereas the first one would probably sound more natural.
Musicians, and the performances there are affected. Musicians, and the performances there are affected.
And you can hear the playback, how the first performance sounds natural. The second one, she paused and kind of rushed the delivery. If I was manually editing this, I would probably splice the two together so that maybe I take per from the first iterance and the formances from the second and chop those, merge them together, and it'll sound a lot more natural. These are the little things that humans are going to understand and do better than AI. Is the audience going to care or notice? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But when you see people talk about how editing makes things sound unnatural and robotic, this is part of the reason why. Stuff is being cut out that doesn't need to be cut out, which is making audible edits to your listeners. So let's take a look at a couple more.
And there are difficulties because we're all adapting to new.
And again, there's another one of those rough edits. So what's it sound like if we leave it in?
And there are difficulties in what's happening because we're all adapting to new technology.
And again, the part that was edited or the part that was removed, the in what's happening, there's no reason that needed to be removed. It's not off topic. It's just part of the sentence. I think I've seen enough here, so I'll go ahead and stop the screen share and we'll wrap up this video. Unfortunately, this is about what I expected. The cuts are still hit or miss. I was hoping that the AI would have been better trained to understand human speech instead of taking a more grammatical or journalistic approach of removing one word here and another there to make a sentence more concise. One of the biggest things I have had to work with clients who use transcripts is to get them to understand one thing, that we can't edit audio like we would writing, like a text document. It just doesn't work. While it seems so simple to remove this word or end the sentence here without all the rambling, it isn't always that simple. We have to consider if there's a place to cleanly cut the audio. We have to ensure the pacing sounds natural and the inflections match up. Right now, Edit for Clarity isn't where it needs to be for me as an editor. I can deliver better results in less time. However, I can see this being helpful for content creators who just don't have the time or the skill to do it all manually. And as an editor, this is the type of technology that has me looking at ways to diversify my revenue streams. I see it as the first step towards automating the editing process to the point where all we're doing is QCing the work. It's not there yet, but it shows that companies are working towards that future. It's only a matter of time before someone cracks that code. Maybe it will be next year, maybe we're a decade away. Who knows? But for me, it's enough for me to see that I don't want all of my eggs in the podcast editing basket. So what about you? What do you think about this technology? Do you find it useful? Do you see it as a threat or as an opportunity? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.